Gather your Bibles this morning and turn with me to the Old Testament book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible. Genesis chapter 50. One verse of scripture, the A clause of Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. There you'll find these words recorded. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for my good. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth away, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Look at a neighbor on either side of you. If you didn't want to look at him, you shouldn't have sat next to him this morning and say, neighbor, it didn't work. Come on, say it to another neighbor. Say with energy in your voice, say, neighbor, it didn't work. Now give God a hand of praise in this place. It didn't work. As we return to our Bloom Again series, I want to lift this particular preaching theme: blooming after betrayal. Blooming after betrayal. My brothers and sisters of Christ in creation, there are few pains in this life more hurtful and heartbreaking than the pain of betrayal. And while betrayal by an enemy can be expected, betrayal by someone you loved, supported, believed in, and trusted cuts deeply and differently. Being such an act of calculated disloyalty, it affects reach far beyond the moment of the offense. It bruises the heart, burdens the mind, breeds suspicion, and if left unhealed, hardens the soul. Betrayal has a way of making yesterday's confidence become today's caution and tomorrow's fear. It's been stated that the knife of betrayal cuts deepest when it's wielded by familiar hands. And unfortunately, we've all felt the cold blade of betrayal, the serrated edge of disappointment. As we've discovered that not everyone who is in our camp is in our corner. Not everyone who is family is always friendly. Not everyone that smiles at you is supportive of you. And I need not tell you, church, that if you live long enough, love deeply enough, serve faithfully enough, or sacrifice generously enough, you've likely encountered the painful reality called betrayal. In fact, R&B artist India Irie said it best. I tried to get her here this morning. In that hit song, Get It Together, when stating one shot to the heart without breaking the skin. No one has the power to hurt you like your kin. A sobering soundtrack of life, this is a lived truth for all of us in this room and in the virtual space. And rather kin or friend, betrayal does not always arrive wearing the face of an enemy. It comes masked in relational ties, fake smiles, firm handshakes, warm embraces, contemptuous kisses, and yes, kind words. It hides behind compliments and conversations. It sits at your table, shares your dreams, celebrates your victories, and gains access to your trust. Yet beneath the friendly facade is a hidden agenda. Beneath the polished appearance is a conceited and concealed motive. Beneath the words of loyalty is sometimes the spirit of deception. Betrayal is so painful because it rarely announces itself. It does not come through the front door as a threat. It slips through the side door of familiarity. It wears the clothing of friendship and family while carrying the intentions of an adversary. It speaks the language of love while plotting your downfall. I'm talking about betrayal. And while the details of our stories may differ, the wound often feels the same. Yet, friends, it's in the pain of betrayal, this dark, disturbing, and disheartening place, that God is often orchestrating a good outcome out of bad intentions. Because betrayal is never the end of the story. It is often the pathway through which God develops our character, deepens our faith, and positions us for his divine purposes for our lives. Because the good news is this: betrayal may have wounded you, but it cannot stop what God has purposed for you. For behind the scenes of your suffering, God is still working. God is still arranging. God is still healing. God is still working all things together for your good. Because what feels like setback is often a setup. What appears to be a closed door may just be God's way of directing you toward an assignment you never would have discovered otherwise. What feels like your demise is often God pushing you toward your destiny. So instead of losing sleep, becoming bitter, and trying to get even, you should thank every person whose words, whose actions, and behavior ever hurt you or betrayed you. You ought to thank them for lying on you. You ought to thank them for leaving you. You ought to thank them for laughing at you. You ought to thank them for looking down on you. You ought to thank them for letting you go, because through every betrayal, God was preparing you to bloom again. So don't get bitter, just bloom. Don't try to get even, just bloom. Don't carry the pain too long, just bloom. Don't keep holding the grudge, just bloom. And maybe you ought to help me preach this morning and tell your neighbor, don't you get bitter, you just bloom. Bloom through your pain, bloom through your disappointment, bloom through your embarrassment. And who am I preaching to this morning that can testify that this is your blooming season? You cried long enough, now it's time to bloom. You've hurt long enough, now it's time to bloom. You've been delayed too long, now it's time to bloom. And I'm trying to understand why some of you there are still seated in your seat when God has given you the capacity to bloom. And if you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever been hurt, if you've ever had to cry yourself to sleep because of what somebody has done to you, but yet you are still here, clothed in your right mind, you ought to stand on your feet and thank God that this is your blooming season. Because everything that the enemy used to work against you, God will make it work for you. That is really the story and reality of this particular text that is for us. It begins in chapter 37. It concludes in chapter 50, 13 chapters of this unfolding saga in the life of Joseph, who is sold into slavery by his own brothers. At the end of the story, as Joseph is getting ready to fold up his tent and move upstairs, he writes these pointed and powerful words here, framed in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. He says, "But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it for my good." Can I give you some holy insight this morning, church? The amazing thing about God is that God never endorses evil, but he is sovereign that he can overrule evil. You just missed your shout. I said God never endorses evil, but he is sovereign enough that he can overrule evil, which means even the plots and the plans and the ploys of those that have tried to hurt you deeply, God is able to overrule and override everything that the enemy has designed to break you. Is there anybody here that can thank God in the face of all of your haters, that even though they're hating three movements of this particular passage of Scripture, and then I'll bid you good afternoon. The first thing that we notice about this text is the intention of the betrayal. Somebody shout intention. Notice the words of the text. They're here tailored to teach us something about betrayal. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you have. I don't care what your name is. Not everybody around you likes you. Let me stop, rewind, play this again, say it a little differently. Not everybody around you cares about you. And oftentimes, it's the closest people to us that can do the most damage to us. And here it is that Joseph says, you thought evil against me, but God meant it for my good. Joseph makes no attempt to sanitize what has happened in his life. He does not pretend that it was not painful. He does not minimize the offense. He calls a spade a spade. He says, my own kinfolks thought evil against me. Their intentions was never to bless him. Their intentions were always designed to break him. The Hebrew word translated thought carries the idea of devising, planning, scheming, weaving together, or it's very calculating in nature. Their betrayal was not impulsive, it was intentional. They hear carefully crafted evil in their minds before they ever carried it out with their hands. It is a dangerous individual, and yes, some of them folks are in your own family. Some of the very folks that Joseph is talking about are even in the church. And he says they have weaved together this plot and this plan to do me evil and not good, all because my father favored me. You might wonder, how do we get to this particular place and point in the text? You got to go all the way back to Genesis chapter 37, where Joshua has received the blessing and favor of his father Jacob, and there he is given the coat of many colors, and he gives two dreams. One dream to his brothers where he is gathering sheaves in the middle of the field, and his sheaves stand straight up and their sheaves bow down before him. And what he is saying to his brothers is, one day God is going to bless me so that you'll come and bow down before me. He gives another dream, and the sun, moon, and stars bow before him and his father, and they're disturbed and disquieted inside. And because God's hand of favor was on them, they became jealous and began a sinister plot against his life. And I pause to caution you, sometime you need to keep your dream to yourself, because everybody can't handle what God has purpose for your life. And here it is. Joseph is a product of his own dreams. And here it is that they can't handle it. And because his brothers, who've lived in the same house, who was nursed from the same bosom, who slept in the same close, tight quarters, who bathed together, who ate together, who enjoyed family gatherings together, these are the same ones who said amongst themselves, we can't take anymore. And devised a plan to kidnap him, and to sell him into slavery. And thus the story goes. And here we are, 13 chapters later, after Joseph had been thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, and thrown into the prison. And it is out of those conditions that God would honor his faithfulness, because even though people might try to break you, God will use the breaking to bless you. They intended to rob him of what was not theirs. This was not an accident of circumstances. This was, church, a calculated, clandestine, carefully crafted conspiracy. Here it is, by a cohort of close companions. These were not outsiders, but these were people that he knew well. It was, you ready for it? A betrayal by blueprint. This wasn't some casual betrayal. This was something that they had set down in the dirt and began to draw out how this thing was going to play out. But I thank God this morning that when our enemies are sitting down trying to devise our demise, God is still working behind the scenes to make all things well. I need somebody in here that has ever had somebody that has tried to betray you, that has tried to wrong you, that has tried to do you in, but every time they kept fighting against you, here's your shout: God kept fighting for you. I need 20 or 30 of y'all, I'll make 31, that can just lift up your hand and thank God that even when they were trying to plot against you, God had already made a way of escape. They smiled in his face while plotting behind his back. They shared his blood, but they did not share the same burden that God had placed upon him. They knew his dream, but they despised his destiny. Can I preach like I feel it? Sometimes the greatest attacks against your life don't come from people you don't know. They come from people you know all too well. They know your strengths. They know your weaknesses. And nothing bruises the heart like somebody that knows your weaknesses and will capitalize on your weaknesses, and they'll always try to bring up your weaknesses. They know the areas of your life that you're vulnerable. And because they know where you're vulnerable, they know where to strike. They stripped Joseph of his coat because they thought his coat was the source of his favor. Don't miss this. Let me say it again. For some of y'all that may have had a long night last night. They stripped Joseph of his coat because they thought the coat was the source of his favor, but they misunderstood the nature of God's blessing, because the favor was not in the coat, the favor was in the covering. I just said something that somebody here needs to appreciate this morning. And you trying to figure out how somebody keeps on making it, how God keeps on blessing them, when you've tried to lie on them, you've tried to scandalize them, you've tried to shame them, you've tried to hurt them, you've tried to take their coat, failing to realize that the real favor is never in the coat, it's in the one that covers you. Is there anybody here can thank God that they tried to take your coat, but they couldn't take your covering? can I just talk to you? If God's hand is still on your life, you don't cry over coats. Because what God covers, no devil in hell can uncover. What God ordains, no enemy can overturn. And what God has spoken, no betrayal can cancel. Can you help me preach up in here? They took his coat, but they could not touch his calling. They threw him in a pit, but they could not bury his purpose. They sold his body, but they could not sell his destiny. I wish you would tell somebody, they may take my coat, but they could not take my covering. The people, his own brothers. Don't raise your hand. But how many of you this morning, whether you're worshiping with us in person or in the virtual space, can testify to the fact that you have been hurt by your own kinfolks? We see the people. He says, and you meant it for my evil. He's talking to people that he knows well, but we see the plot. Joseph acknowledges the reality of what happened. His brother's actions were not accidental or misunderstood. Their betrayal was intentional. Jealousy gave birth to hatred. Hatred gave birth to conspiracy, and conspiracy gave birth to cruelty. Their own brother. And because they were so filled with hatred, they sold their own brother out and got little in return. Church, betrayal is oftentimes deliberate. Most people don't just wake up saying, I'm going to betray you. But betrayal is an act of deliberate nature. It is something that you sit around the house trying to figure out how you're going to bring somebody else down. People may seek to diminish what God has placed in your life. The enemy frequently works through human instruments to discourage God's people. Joseph teaches us that healing does not require denying the pain, because you can't overcome what you refuse to first acknowledge. And full-throated, Joseph says to his own brothers as he looks at them as they have come to Egypt, because a famine has hit the land and they have no food to feed themselves, and they are sent by their father to go to Egypt that they might find favor. And lo and behold, the very one that they had thrown into the pit, the very one that had been sold into slavery, the very one that had suffered allegations from Potiphar's wife, the very one that they had put into the prisons there in a harsh and hard place, is the very one that the sovereignty and the providence of God would lead them to encounter. Can you not see Joseph's brothers' faces when they have to come to Egypt, and now the very one that they had betrayed has now been elevated to second in command? Here it is, y'all. Excuse my French. He is the head NIC. Is there anybody here that can thank God that God knows how to elevate you when everybody else is trying to bury you? Hold on. Be very careful of the people you try to hurt, because they just might be later on in your life the very people God has assigned to help you. Help me feel like I'm in a black church. of us up in here know what betrayal looks like and what betrayal feels like. But thank God that even in today's culture and climate and the political atmosphere in which we are living, when every day it seems as though the powers to be are always trying to betray our constitutional right and privileges and to strip away everything that our forefathers have fought and died for and cried for. But I pause to tell you that no matter what this administration tries to do to betray us as people in this country, I stop by to tell you that God still got us covered. This ain't the only time that we've been without. This ain't the only time that we've had to suffer Jim Crow. This ain't the only time that our rights have been stripped away from us. And here it is, the same God that walked with Big Mama and them is the same God that's going to walk with you and me. Is there anybody here can thank God that he keeps on covering us? Let them take Social Security away. We serve a God who owns the cattle upon 1,000 hills. Let them take your health care benefits away. There's still a bomb in Gilead. Let them take your 401k. Let the stock market drop all the way down. He's still got coins in the mouths of fish. Is there anybody here can thank God he's still covering us? Let them look over the lost and the least. Let them take SNAP benefits away. He knows how to take a little lad's lunch. Are y'all in this place? 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. It was a fish sandwich, and he was able to take 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and feed a multitude of 5,000, not including the women and children. Don't you tell me what God is able to do. God is able to fix it for us. Be careful. The ones you try to hurt, because God will design your life so the very ones you have hurt, they'll have to help you later on. Confession is good for the soul, but bad for the reputation. One of the greatest snapbacks. Clock it. One of the greatest snapbacks in pastoring and yet burdens is people that you have pastored, people that you have counseled, people you have loved and prayed for, and yet they find some reason to get mad at you, and they don't want to speak to you, and they say all manner of evil against you, but yet Father Time catches up with them, and they find themselves in a hospital connected to all types of apparatuses, and the family has to call the very one that they tried to shame and they tried to dismiss and they tried to disregard. And I've had the privilege and misfortune of walking into many hospital beds when they were about to take their last breath, and I've had to pray over them. And all I'm trying to say, child of God, is you better be careful trying to do evil to the very ones God has assigned to your life. And even though I wanted to be in my feelings and say, hell no, I ain't coming. Y'all fill in the blanks. See, that's what's wrong with y'all. Y'all want people to be real in the streets, but you don't want a preacher to be real in the pulpit. And while you're going through holy hell, you can come up in here and shout all pretty, but you don't want nobody to give you the truth. I'm trying to give you something to pack in your suitcase, because you're going to have to need this message the next time somebody betrays you. Sometimes I don't want to be as good as Joseph. Sometimes I want to tell you, call that preacher you've been calling. Call that church you've been going to. But the Lord in me won't let me treat you how you have treated me. Is there anybody here can thank God that God has built you with something different? And even though you want to slap the hell out of them, you got to give them some love and some grace, because God's grace keeps on covering you. And then use my one cuss word for the month. But secondly, I'm almost through. Look at the intervention in the betrayal. He says, but for you, he says, you meant it for evil, for my destruction, for my downfall. But look at the intervention in the betrayal. He says, but, thank God for but. He says, but God. You ought to be able to shout on that alone. Can you help me preach in here? I license you, I ordained you to be a Baptist preacher this morning in your pew, and just look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'll shout over the but God situation. Is there anybody here that has ever had a but God situation? You was getting ready to go off, but God. You was getting ready to cuss them out, but God. You was getting ready to throw hands, but God. See, if you move too fast, Calhoun, if you move too fast, you'll miss your blessing when you read over the but God. Joseph had every reason to get even with them. But when you know who you are, and when you know whose you are, you can sit in the midst of your enemies. Why? Because David gives us insight. He says he'll prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies. Is there anybody here that can say, I'm just chilling in the middle of my enemies? No matter what they're doing with me, I'm still eating, I'm still driving, I'm still living, I'm still clean. Because when you understand the but of God, God will always bring you out. These may be the most powerful words of the text. Joseph's story would have ended in the pit. Joseph's story could have ended in the prison. Joseph's story could have ended in the grave. Here it is. Here's your shout. Had God not intervened. Hold on. I need y'all to stop viewing the story from the perspective of Joseph's life. And I need you to put your name where Joseph's name is in the story, because all of us have a situation that could have left us worse off. But if God intervened in your situation, you ought to be the first somebody thanking and praising God that it did not end as bad as it looked. Is there anybody here that can thank him that your life did not end in the pit? Your life did not end in prison. Your life did not end in a grave, because God knows how to turn the tides in your life. Is there anybody here can thank God that God still intervenes? Here it is. I got 4 minutes and 22 seconds. At every stage of Joseph's suffering, God was silently working behind the scenes. Y'all don't know when to shout. I'll say it again so you can get it. I want you to feel the energy of what is happening and unfolding in this timeless text. It suggests that at every stage of Joseph's suffering, God, not the government, not no social program, no other assistance. He says, when I was at my worst, God was silently working behind the scenes. Here it is. Do you have the faith to stay faithful to God when you can't see God working on your behalf? Hold on. When Joseph was kidnapped by his brothers, his coat stripped off of him, thrown in the pit, do you think Joseph seen God's hand working? When he was sold into slavery, do you think he seen God's hand working? When he was wrongly accused by Potiphar's wife, do you think he seen God's hand working? When he was thrown into the prison, do you think he seen God's hand working? And the question for all of us, how do you handle life when you cannot see God's hand working? Hold on. Don't miss the nuances of the text. Joseph goes from a bad situation to a worse situation. From a worse situation to a worser situation. And I don't know what the word is for the other side of worser. It is just bad, bad, and worse, worse. What do you think Joseph's psyche was? What do you think his spiritual composition was at this time? God, where in the world are you? God, how can you allow something like this to happen to me? And while he was in the pit, God intervened. While he was in Potiphar's house, God intervened. While he was in prison, God intervened. And because he didn't curse God when he was in the pit, when he was in Potiphar's house, or in prison, here's your shout, God elevated him to a palace. All I'm trying to tell somebody in here, if you learn how to keep your mouth shut and keep your eyes on God, it doesn't matter if you in a pit, if you in Potiphar's proverbial house, or if you in prison, God has in store for you a palace. Can you thank God in here that if you just shut up long enough, God will show up? Hold on. This is good. This is why I spend all week studying. Because I never want you to leave saying, I leave empty. Let me leave empty and you leave full. And then you pray all week, and as you pray, God will fill me back up so that I can pour back into your life. And here's your shout. When others were plotting against Joseph, here it is. God was positioning Joseph to do great things in the kingdom. Because every believer has a but God testimony. It is, my time is far spent. I'm out of time, but not out of message. But here's the nuance of this text. Look at the third point. We see the inspiration from the betrayal. The inspiration from the betrayal. Let's see if you can spot the inspiration in the text. He says, as for you, you meant it. Come on, we in Bible study. Some of y'all don't come, so y'all gonna get it here today. As for you, you meant it for my evil, but God meant it for my what? Good. He says that others might be saved. Okay, I get it now why some of y'all can't shout and appreciate that, because you thought God bringing you out was for you. Come on. You thought him blessing you was for you. You thought him delivering you was for you. You thought him healing you was for you. You thought him giving you the promotion was for you. But here Joseph says the inspiration of betrayal. He says God meant it unto good. He says that others might be saved. Whenever God blesses you, it is not just for you, but it is for you to turn around and help somebody else. Pastor Marcus Calhoun, the theology of suffering is that God equips us to endure so that we can become conduits of his grace for somebody else. Say it one more time. If you can't appreciate that statement, I do. In the theology of suffering, it is that God equips us to endure so that we can become conduits of grace for somebody else. In the theology of suffering, God equips us to endure so that our lives can become conduits of grace for somebody else. I'm going to say it until you see it. In the theology of suffering, it is God that equips us to endure so that our lives will become conduits of God's grace. Because you can't pick it up, let me put it down. There's somebody else who endured suffering over 2,000 years ago on an old rugged cross. And is there anybody here that can thank God that he endured despise and shame on a cross at Calvary so that you and I can be recipients of grace? Is there anybody here who can tell God thank you? Is there anybody here who can lift up your hands and give God some praise? Good evening, y'all. May the Lord bless you real good. I got good news for you. It did not work. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it did not work. And because it did not work, I'm going to keep on blooming with tears in my eyes. I'm going to keep on blooming broken hearted. I'm going to keep on blooming. Been through the storm and rain, but I'm going to keep on blooming. Is there anybody here that can thank God that you're still winning? Is there anybody here that can thank won't he make a way somehow beneath his wings of love abide? God will take care of you. Is there anybody here that can testify that the God we serve, he's able, he's able, he's able, he's able to take care of you on Monday? He can take care of you on Tuesday. He can take care of you Wednesday and Thursday. He can take care of you Friday and Saturday. He can take care of you Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. He can take care of you. If that wasn't enough, in January, he can take care of you. February, March, April and May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. He will, he will, he will, he will take care of you. Big Mama would say, he rocked me in the cradle of his love. Is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? Is there anybody here that can lift up your voice and tell him one more time, thank you for walking with me. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you for trying my eyes. God will let me bother you. Help me close out. Take a neighbor by that hand. Squeeze that hand. Hold that hand. Shake them and rock them. Rock them and shake them. Shake them and rock them. Rock them and shake them. And say, neighbor. Say, oh, neighbor. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy, I said joy, I said joy, I said joy, I said joy. Y'all want to know why I'm hollering? Because this is one of the first Sundays that my foot ain't been hurting, and I said if I can make it to the house of the Lord, I'ma dance because he's been good to me. I'ma dance because he woke me up early this morning, clothed me in my right mind. You want to know why I'm dancing? Because on yesterday I celebrated 52 years of living. Didn't know I'd make it, but I'm here standing. You want to know why I'm shouting? Because I've been broken. I've been disappointed, but it did not work. And I'm bouncing back. Say I got bounced back. Look at a neighbor. Say, neighbor, not only are you going to bounce back, but we